Hey, Board Gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back with another episode of Gumbo Live. It's episode number 128, Gumbo Live, the #1 Facebook Live talk show in Jackson County, Missouri, dedicated to board gaming. Our special guest tonight, it's Chris Wray of the Opinionated Gamers. We finally got him to come back. It's going to be awesome. It's our usual post-Essen Spiel show with a little bit of a twist. We'll find out if he actually went to Dusseldorf this year. Board Game Gumbo, a proud member of Punchboard Media. Hey, check out some of our other fine members like Gumbo Favorites. Before You Play, that's right, Monique and Naveen. They're a board gaming channel that focus on full board game playthroughs and reviews from a two-player perspective. That's the first time I run that copy, so I need to work on it a little bit, but we are so excited to have Monique and Naveen on the channel. Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. A couple of quick show notes. First off, congratulations to our friend Christian Strain. Chris might be checking in, although he's a little busy tonight. His Kickstarter is live right now for Asking for Troubles with all the expansion content and the big box, and it's already funded. I've already backed it, and you should check it out too. Get the base game and 2 brand new expansions, Companions and Troublemakers, and a big box to hold them all in there. And that's just me plugging it away for Chris, because I want to see Chris Strain do well. Check that out on the Kickstarter. Also, I've got it up there. Our first ever Gumbo merchandise. Check out our Game Crafter link to get a copy of your very own copy of Board Game Gumbo Bourrée deck. That's right, it's a Bourrée deck. You can learn to play Bourrée because we've got the instructions inside, and there's a surprise when you see the Ace of Spades. Well, it won't be a real big surprise if you watch social media. So hit us up on social media tonight, on Twitter or on Facebook, at Board Game Gumbo, and we'll be looking for your questions in the chat. But enough blather. Let's get right to our special guest. It's Chris Wray from the Opinionated Gamers, man. Welcome back.
Good to be here.
It is awesome to have you on the show. I'm assuming you were calling me from a hotel room in Dusseldorf?
Yes, of course. I'm over in Germany now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm in my basement.
No, you're in basement over there in Jackson County, Missouri.
Cass County. I live outside of Kansas City.
So we're not the #1 Facebook Live board game show in Jackson County.
We might be
way down there, Steve. Well, we might be. I'm not sure. So
I don't want to disavow my home county.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, let's get the right county in there, and that would be a parish down here for all of you Louisiana fans. He's talking about a parish because the other states apparently use a different system, but instead of the parish system, you'll use counties. Is that right?
Yeah. We have 114 here in Missouri.
Down here in Louisiana, we use the parishes. It's a little bit different. But hey, for those who've never talked to Chris Wray or haven't seen you on the show, who is Chris Wray and what are the Opinionated Gamers?
So the Opinionated Gamers is the oldest, maybe, I think, written review blog that's still running continuously. We have basically a new post every day. And the blog focuses on written reviews. So in this age of YouTube, we're a little bit aged, but it's still a popular site. I've been writing for the site for a little bit over 5 years. And that's primarily what I do in the board game hobby. I also am a frequent playtester. I used to write for Counter Magazine, but that went by the wayside. I write for Gamers Alliance. And then I have my own Board Game Geek blog.
Oh, Counter Magazine. I also was a subscriber to it. That's Greg Schlossinger, originally from New Orleans, up there in the East Tennessee Gamers now, was the editor, right, for Counter Magazine? Oh, that was some good stuff. Hey, we got a bunch of people checking in. Patrick Newman, our favorite lefty writer, our diver friend from Texas. He's checking in. He says, loves that intro. That's right. Jackson County. Well, we had the wrong one. Oh, we've got Chuck Yeager from our friendly neighborhood, Gateway and Filler Games group there on Facebook. What's up? We finally got Chuck to do some board gaming online. Chris, are you a Board Game Arena fan?
I am a huge fan. Yeah.
We got Chuck to actually try out some of the games. What's your favorite game on Board Game Arena? Because there's a lot of that are really good. What's your favorite one?
Right now, it's Marco Polo 2, which is in beta mode. But I think everybody can play beta mode, right? And yes. I've played 15 or so games of Marco Polo 2, and I'm just a little bit obsessed with it right now.
We've gotten on a Concordia track, which is not on BGA. It's over on Bois de Jeu. But man, we've always seemed to have a game of Concordia going. But I don't think I've actually played Marco Polo 2. I played the original, of course, but I haven't tried it. So it's a good implementation?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I like it actually better than the first one. And it's the online version is sleek because those games are a little bit heavy, so they're kind of hard to administer in person. But the BGA makes it really easy.
It makes all the administration, so all the fiddliness just goes away. I like that. Hey, there's Jay Bell checking in.
Great.
What's that?
Boy, Did You is also really great. I play Alchemist on there.
Ooh, is Alchemist on there? I didn't even notice that.
Uh-huh.
I'll have to check that out. Jay Bell's checking in with us. Jay's going to be joining us later on for our board game Bataille. Can't wait to match wits with you and Verla. We'll see about that. And Steve's got a link to the Kickstarter there, so that's nice. Check that out when Chris is going to do it. Chris and I might have something special cooking later on this week. Chris, have you played Asking for Troubles?
Mm-hmm.
No? Okay. It's an up to 7-person worker placement game that Christian and Aaron designed, and they've got some expansion content that are out, but we might be cooking something up on the Gumbo here on Thursday. Christian Strain reached out to me today, so we'll see. We're going to test it out tonight after the show. We'll see. And yeah, Dave Duga, I agree. What the heck is a county? I'm not sure. I remember from the Dukes of Hazzard that they would use this word county, so I'm assuming it's sort of like the parishes, but that's okay. All right, so at this time, normally the couple of times you've been on the show was an awesome post Essen Spiel show, and you told us how you did your research and you regaled us with all your food and beer trips over to Essen. What did you do this year instead of going to Essen? How did you get ready?
No. So I always joke I take 3 weeks of vacation a year, and all 3 of those weeks are dedicated to board game conventions. And this year there have been none of those. So I've banked up some vacation time, and this year for Essen, rather than going over there, they had Spiel Digital, and I thought it was better implemented than a lot of the digital conventions I've been to this year. I really enjoyed it. But it was really not a replacement because, it's one thing to sort of click from website to website, but that's not a good replacement for walking hall to hall with stacks of games, 10 feet high, and, the German sausages and drinks and everything surrounding you. I will say I prefer American Diet Coke, but otherwise, I'm
Diet Coke with lime, Diet Coke with lemon. Come on.
Yeah. But otherwise, I did miss the experience. But this year, Spiel Digital was pretty cool, and it was a fun time. And a lot of games did get released, not nearly as many as normal. I'd say you probably know as well as I do, we probably saw 200 or 300 game releases, whereas normally we see over 1,000.
Yeah, the list I looked at with Eric was 450, but that counts multiple versions of the same game if it was like multi-language.
It has a lot of expansions in it. Yeah.
I would think you're right. There was maybe 200 or 300 games.
Yeah, and so we definitely are having a down year in the industry, but I got to play lots of games that I liked, and I learned a lot about a few new games. It was definitely an expensive 4 days in terms of spending on new games, but it was an experience. And normally I do sort of just wander through all of the halls, and it takes me 4 days, but this time I just clicked through as many of the publisher booths as I could.
I'm living through you a little bit because I actually participated in Gen Con and UK Games Expo a lot. I even did a little bit of Portal Con, which actually I enjoyed. I thought Portal Con was very well run. That's Ignacio's convention. I got to Essen Spiel, and the Spiel Digital just came at a bad time for me. Whatever, I forgot what it was, but we're just busy, so I didn't really get to experience much. But I did hear some people giving kudos to the Spiel team that their digital version was kind of the best of all the ones that we've seen. I think by now what they're learning that what we really want is we want some content at night where, you've got some celebrities maybe or board game content creators, maybe interviews with designers. What we really want is, show us the games and let us play the games, right? Not just an empty website that we could have done without digital being there at all. What do you think?
I will say so I have to give enormous kudos to Spiel Digital for this. The online halls were better organized than the real halls.
Okay.
And so one thing, I don't know if you've been to Essen, but one thing about Essen that always is even with a map of the convention center, you'll be like standing around being like, I think I'm at this publisher's booth, but I don't really know. Spiel Digital, it was actually easy to find things, but you don't see the old games. And the other thing I really missed, and this is just me, I'm a fan of like game histories.
Sure.
I love it. When you're in Essen, there are all of these used game booths. and like just like a dozen of them, and they have games going back 30 or 40 years, and like that's one way just to learn about old games, and I really missed that because the convention online did focus on what's new.
We have that at Gen Con where you have the booth that has all of the monopolies from around the world. And I mean, if you really want to know the history of Monopoly, the dude's got like 50 different versions of Monopoly, but your version sounds a lot better. I think I'd like that. You've told me some of the, you'll find some games for $5 that are in America for a lot more. It's just that every gamer household in Germany has it, and maybe none of us have that game. I'm thinking of what's that?
Reifenbreite, which won the Spiel Digital in the early 90s. It's like this like racing game, and it's fantastic. But it over there you can buy a copy for $5. Here, if you find it on Board Game Geek and it's often not on there, you're gonna pay a pretty penny.
Right, and that's actually the game I was thinking of. Reifenbreiten. Got a couple of people checking in. Meepletown is in the house. What's up, Dean? Dean and I are cooking a couple different things. Panic Games is coming in. Loves BGA. Love to see that. One of our favorite artists is talking about counties again. Apparently the chat crew loves our talk about counties versus parishes. Hello, Beth. Beth Sobel checking in. Nice to see you. All right. So, yeah, there's a lot of talk about counties. Do you have an opinion? Counties or parishes? Do you have an opinion, Chris?
I prefer the county system. Although Missouri has if we can continue the discussion, Missouri has a city that's not within a county. The city of St. Louis is not within a county.
I thought it was in Jefferson County. No?
No, so Jefferson City is within a county that I'm forgetting the name of, even though I lived there a few months. Cole County, but yeah, St. Louis is not. It's not in a county. So you have it's Missouri's weird. All these states are weird.
All right, so trivia question. So in your county, there's a political group that runs the county, right?
There's a county commission.
County commission, right? That's what they call them everywhere, right? What are they called in Louisiana? Do you have any idea?
I would guess a parish commission?
The police jury.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I don't know. And I love history too. And I wish my dad were still alive because he would know the answer to this. I don't know why they're called the police jury, but that's what they're called. Instead of the county commission or the parish commission, it's called the police jury in most of the parishes. Now, some of them are bigger, like the parish I'm in has a different system, but yep. Isn't that strange? And yes, he's right. Alaska is like our county, Jay, or our parishes up there in Alaska has boroughs. They're the other one that has that.
It's getting a little cantons, I think, is what they call them. Is that right?
What's that?
I think some other countries have something similar, but they call them cantons.
Yeah, maybe so.
Switzerland.
I think that. Chuck says Philly is both a county and a city.
It's a different play on it.
Interesting. BJ from Game Gumbo, I've got my guest here, Chris Wray, and we could be talking counties and parishes all night, or we
here somewhere.
Or we could talk about board games. And one of the games that Steve and I were talking before the show starts, I'm always fascinated when Freedom and Freeze comes out with a new game because it's usually something we haven't seen before. We can't even pronounce this one. So, Chris, you gotta help us out here. What are we doing with this game?
The German is very confusing. It's pronounced finishing time. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, now that would be easy. Or off to work, right?
Yeah, finishing time is the English name of the game. And so if you're searching for it on Board Game Geek, you can search for finishing time, and it will. But I'm calling it Feierabend. But it's an after worker placement game, which is it's a worker placement game. But what's so cool about it is, first of all, there's no randomness in the game, which typically annoys me a little, but here I liked it. And it is a Freedom and Freeze economic game where you have workers and they are stressed out and they're trying to buy leisure times, and whoever buys, the most leisure time, whoever buys the most relaxation, as they call it in the game, wins. And the board that you're seeing on your screen now is one of the boards that shows sort of the workers' conditions. So you get so many wages per week. There's a gender gap on the wages. There is workers can strike to earn additional benefits to their working conditions. And so you have to sort of balance, like, do I try to improve my working conditions now by striking, or do I, spend money on relaxation? And so it's an interesting theme, and the theme's a little bit pasted on, I suppose.
Do you think?
Yeah, but That's often the case with Friedman's games, but it's a very clever design, and everybody I've played with has really wanted to play it more and more. I think
what are we looking at in the middle? Are those I see
those are the relaxation boards. So the one on the bottom left is where you go to do sort of out of town relaxation activities. The top middle one is your vacation board, and the bottom right one is sort of your in town activities, visiting the park or going fishing, or I think it's going on a bike path. And so each activity earns you different relaxation, and it's a typical efficiency game, but it's really got a couple of twists, and the twists are, first of all, the theme, but then second of all, it is really just one of these pure strategy, no luck, economic games, and I always think those are pretty intriguing, and it works.
But if you win at being efficient, isn't that kind of not the theme of the game?
I don't know how to answer that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to answer that. I'm gonna ignore your question and substitute.
That's probably a good idea, Chris.
What's the most interesting part of this game? Friedman Freeze back in 2004 did a game called Power Grid. And everybody loves Power Grid. I mean, not everybody, but almost everybody loves Power Grid, and the other people are wrong. And see, I write for the Opinionated Gamers.
That's why we bring you on the show.
And the thing about Power Grid that I always found fascinating, it's a game about timing. And so Friedman Freeze has done really cool things with timing before. The winner of Feierabend will be the person who best times the end of the game. The end of the game is going to happen when somebody gets to level 40 on relaxation. And if you have all of your workers in your complement, you have a lot more flexibility to win the game. And that's really cool. I think the end of the game is what people are fascinated by. And it's just a cool design. The artwork is typical Friedman Freeze green. And I enjoyed it. Full disclosure, I have a review copy from Friedman. But I would have said very positive things. Either way, I don't let review copies affect my judgment.
No, no, you're very opinionated either way. Chris, there's a couple of people have commented about the art, and it's got that, I recognize some of these pictures, the lady with the red polka dots on the arm. I recognize that, if I remember right, that's World War II type promotional art. Is that right?
It feels, yeah. So you remember Rosie the Riveter? It feels a little like it's got a Rosie the Riveter feel. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So yeah, I don't recognize this art style from any other type, although it looks like the same artist that he typically uses for his thing. I mean, you can recognize, I don't know who did the art, but I recognize that flavor.
Yeah, the name is escaping, but yeah, the art, it's pretty cool. And the art is very detailed. So there was some laughter around the table at some of the art.
Yeah, I'm looking. There's a little bit of eye candy. If you keep looking, every time I look, I see something a little bit different. So it is a worker placement game. But you found a unique twist there. Is this something that you'd want to keep in your collection?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I do find a couple of twists. First of all, the timing. I think the other thing is you can put your workers into relationships, and then they become more meaningful and more powerful if they're partnered with somebody. They're relaxing more. So that's pretty cool too. I thought it was frankly Friedman's best design of recent years. But I think what I'm hearing is his actual best design of recent years is coming out in a couple weeks, which is Feierabend, which has been on and off the BGG hotness list for months. Steve
and I and our little chat have been talking about that. I know they've been talking about it. That's one that's piquing my interest. Do you know a little bit about it?
I'm probably slaughtering the name.
Right. Yeah. Do you know anything? You know anything about it? You haven't played it yet, then I guess.
It's supposed to be sort of economic, like Power Grid, but mixed with Concordia.
Oh, okay. Are you a fan of the little box card games that he's been putting out over the last couple of years? He's had a bunch of those little, the ones I'm talking about, the little square box games, Fear and Flee.
The one last year, I think it was called Fortune.
Right.
I really liked that one. There was one that I didn't care for, but yeah, I've liked most of them.
I liked Fear. Fear's the one that I liked the most, and of course, Fuji Flush as the little card game. That's a game that I've given out as gifts to people. I mean, it's super easy to teach. It's perfect holiday type of a game. I don't know if you've ever played Fuji Flush or not, but
I have. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, yeah, that is what Dean's mentioning. One that I really want to try. I've had a lot of recommendations from people about this, and that's Fine Sand. Have you Every time I hear it, I think it's an insult. It's like pound sand, but it's fine sand is what it is.
I have not played the finished version. I was a play tester. This was the deck deconstruction game, I think. And
so. It was
pretty interesting.
It's deck deconstruction. And Verla says you got her hooked. Power Grid mixed with Concordia. Yeah. So it's Math the card game, basically.
Yeah, right.
Math the card game. Yeah. I like Power Grid, but you got to admit it's a mathy game, man. I mean, that's kind of what the last round devolves to. I don't play it that way. I play it more for feel, but and that's why I never win. But the other players I play it with, they're sitting there and they're going like this, and like they're doing with the lips, like 14 times 7 times 3 times 2. If I do this, no, it's 2 times 3. Like, okay, man, just make your move. Let's finish this game up. So, but I do like it. I think Power Grid, it's a brilliant design. And that's why it's still around, and it has all those expansions too, Chris. I mean, it's like Concordia, it just keeps fresh. But I'm actually interested in. I think Steve calls it Feierabend. Feierabend.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're not sure yet. So that is an interesting one, and that is from Freedom and Freeze. Check that out. BJ from Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Chris Wray from the Opinionated Gamers, and he's bringing the opinions tonight. Let's see what he says about a game that I like the original, but I'm not so sure. Do I need Medici, the dice game, in my life? Tell me about that.
Oh, it's so cool. I love it so much. I've played this game probably like 10 times, and I keep trying to break it, actually. And I have not succeeded, which I think bodes well for it. So it's kind of amazing that you got the score sheet up there. It's extremely simple. You roll dice.
It's an amazing show, man. Come on.
Yeah, it's you roll dice, and then you mark the value that you get in those top columns of each row, and then you also track the colors of the dice that you're taking. And so you're allowed to take up to 3 dice if you're the main player, and then the remaining players get one of the leftover dice. And so you're trying to have the highest value ship, so you want high numbers, but you also want to get really low on those color tracks. And so it's this classic Reiner Knizia split between, do I take this now or do I take this now?
Yeah.
Because the person who has the best ship, they can get up to 30 points. It does depend on player count. And then the further you get down on those color tracks, each color track has a 10 or a 5-point bonus each round, but then you can also earn a 10 or 20-point bonus. And so it's just a simple little roll and write. It does feel like Medici. I don't think I like it as well as Medici because I absolutely love auction games. It's like there's something about the auction mechanic that has always fascinated me, but it doesn't have the auctions. It is a 10-minute game though, and it comes with a huge stack of sheets. So you get a lot of value in the box. So Grail Games, I think that's who did this. Grail Games, they really hit this one out of the park. It feels like a Knizia dice game.
Yeah, I like what Grail Games is doing, especially with these Knizia games. They have this game, Whale Riders, that was out on Kickstarter from Knizia. And I actually backed it because it looks really good. Hey, Steve, are you hearing feedback from Chris's mic? No? Is it only me? Okay. For some reason, I'm getting some feedback from your mic, Chris, but if you're not hearing it, it must be mine.
Yeah, I don't hear it.
Strange. Yeah, so we're looking at the score sheet now for Medici, the dice game, right?
Yeah.
So roll and write. I'm trying to think, is this Reiner Knizia's first roll and write?
He did, I think it was called Crisscross.
I didn't play that one. Yeah.
This was just a couple years ago. And so I don't think so. I mean, the guy has 700 games, so I think he's done a little bit of everything before. And there's a Medici card game too, and I didn't like it as well as Medici. I like this better than the card game, but this one was like, this is probably my family's favorite of the Essen games.
Well, Beth Sobel says she loves Medici the card game. Absolutely perfect con game. Little bataille here, Steve. We got Chris and Beth.
I would not argue with Beth Sobel. I mean, she's a legend. So.
The Opinionated Gamers. That's what you do. Throw out that opinion.
Her artwork makes all games better.
All right. So right. No, that's a good point. So give us the choices. You've got the 3 games: Medici the dice game, Medici the card game. How are you going to rate them? How are you going to rank them?
Medici still. I really love the auctions. Medici the dice game is probably number 2 for me, and Medici the card game. But I've owned all 3, and I think all 3 are different enough that you could justify owning all three. And they're all three fantastic. I mean, Knizia is kind of a hit or miss, right? He's got 700 games. 100 or 200 of those are pretty good. Some of them aren't so great. But I think this is one of the really good ones.
I just didn't quite pick it up from your description. Medici is all about, I mean, let's face it, it's all about having the money and what's that?
It's pressure luck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the auction. It's the pure auction, right?
Yeah, because you're auctioning with victory points, which is, I mean,
That's true.
It hasn't really been done a lot. And so
how does that translate to the roll and write though?
So here, there's no auction whatsoever. All you're doing is the dice. You pick which dice you get and which dice that are left over or what everybody else gets. And so what you're really doing is you're saying, do I want to risk it and just take this? The dice range from 0 to 5. Do I want to take this 4 now, or do I want to wait for a 5 later? But the real tension here is, do you want to take dice worth the points to try to get the majority on the ship, or do you want to take the color of the dice? Because if you take a 0, for instance, that adds nothing to your ship value, but you get 2 marks on the color tracks. And so that's the tension in the game is, how it's not only which dice are you going to get, which dice are your opponent's going to get, how are you going to use them too? I mean, you mark them both ways, but
I'm intrigued. I'm interested. I'm curious how they could pull that off in a roll and write. But I'll tell you, you've so made. Especially, I like the fact that it only takes 10 or 15 minutes to play.
It's fast, and it's also like I think we as like game reviewers don't talk enough about like value. I think there's a lot of value in that box. I mean, it's a fairly inexpensive game, probably $20. You could probably get it cheaper. And so, I mean, for a thick pad of sheets, it's not a bad result.
Anytime I can find one of those $15, $20 games, and you pay $15 for a game or $20 for a game, and you can play it 20 times. That's a lot of value. That is a lot of value. BJ from Game Gumbo. I've got my guests here, Chris Wray from the Opinionated Gamers, and we're talking about some of the spicy hot games that we've played recently. And I didn't realize he's already into Pandemic Legacy Season 0. You've played all 3, right, Chris?
I've played all 3.
All right.
I have only played through March of Season 0.
Okay.
And I will not spoil anything today. So
yeah, Chat Krewe, this is a no spoiler episode from Chris. But can you there's some things that you can tell just from the back of the box, right?
Yeah.
And and from some of the pictures. So tell us what's the conceit of Pandemic Legacy Season 0?
So the idea is, it's a prequel, and so it takes place before the virus hits. And it's basically a spy-themed game. You have sort of the Soviets on one side, and then the rest of the world on the other side, the West. And what's so cool about this game, and fair disclosure, I was a playtester for it.
Okay.
What's so cool about this game is it's almost a pick up and deliver game, because in normal Pandemic, what you're doing is you're trading in your cards to cure a virus. Here you're trading in your cards to build a team, which then that team goes around the board, and if you get it into certain cities, you accomplish certain objectives. So this is a fresh twist on the series. It still feels like Pandemic. It still can go very south very quickly, just like a real pandemic, as we're all learning.
Right.
But it is, I think, a refreshing take on the series. Here's how I would describe each of the 3 games, if I can just do that.
Yeah.
Season 1 felt like base Pandemic to me, with some cool layers added on.
And some twists.
Yeah, some cool twists. And so Season 2 felt like it had like this really cool exploration side. Like, right, you have this map of the world, you get these stickers, you fill out your map as you go. And I thought that exploration was extremely cool. And Season 2 is my favorite of the 3 so far.
Okay.
Season 0 is, I think it's probably the most story-driven of the 3. At least that's how it feels to me. It feels also mechanically the most different from the other ones, and so it is pretty fresh and refreshing. The cool thing is, what I would tell people is you don't have to play them in order. I have friends I played season 2 with who hadn't played season 1. I'm playing season 0 now, but I don't think it relates to the other 2 at all. So I think you should just pick which of the 3 you want to try if you're unfamiliar with Pandemic Legacy, and just play it. You don't have to play them in order. And I suppose if I were to recommend an order, I would actually go season 1, 2, and 0, which is the order that came out. But really, I don't even think that's that great of an idea.
Out of the 3 descriptions, I've only played the first one. What's that?
You've got the passport up. This is super cool. You actually have like different aliases in the game. So you come with like these like stickers, and you put like disguises on them, and you fill out your passport, and then you can lose an alias. So it's a spy themed game, so you can be exposed and lose that alias, which is devastating if your cover is blown. But that's all game 1 type of stuff.
All right, she wants to know. Beth says, "What did you name your characters?"
I actually don't remember. That's embarrassing, but I don't remember.
You're still in the middle of the game. You're in March.
I know, but I don't even remember what like costumes I put on them.
Can I tell you something? Out of the 3, so I've only played Pandemic Season 1, and we played halfway through, and then unfortunately we didn't finish. I never did play Season 2. Season 0 is the one that, from an aesthetic standpoint and also from the way you described it, this looks to be like the one that I would enjoy the most. I like this whole building of the team thing. And as for the art, it looks like Pandemic, but a totally different version,
Yeah, the game it looks like most to me is Twilight Struggle, which is because it has that sort of like Cold War feel at times.
I could see that.
They do a pretty good job on the production value. I will say that's right. We can't pull my cover. The names are on a need to know basis.
Yeah, that's right.
I will say this one has lower ratings on Board Game Geek, and I'm not quite sure why that is. I certainly don't feel that it's mechanically any inferior to the other ones. In fact, I think I prefer it to season 1. So
it might be just because I like that whole get well smart, spy, James Bond. I just like that, that art motif, and that's what I'm getting from this. I love the look of the cards. I mean, they really do seem to stand out. So, man, you're selling me on this thing, even though you're not trying to. It feels like the one I need to play. Season 0.
I haven't written my top 10 for the year, but this will make it. I mean, there's just no way this doesn't make it.
There's Spencer from Lighten Up Initiative. Before we got on the show, Chris, I was watching his live play with Laura of the ruins, the Lost Ruins of Arnok. I don't know if you've seen that from CGES.
That's one. I cannot wait for my copy to arrive.
So jealous he got to play that one. That's one. But yeah, back to Pandemic Season 0. I skipped Season 2. It didn't look like, my wife was really that interested in playing it. This is the one I might be able to get her to play because she likes that theme. And you know what the problem with Pandemic Season 1, after we played it, okay, so we got through May, but it took us like 9 games to do that, right? And she looked at me and she said, "I'm not playing 24 games of Pandemic. I'm just not doing it, And I understand that. I mean, she's a gamer. She loves games, but she doesn't want to play the same game over and over, where I'll play Concordia. I have some games I've played 30, 40, 50 times. I know you're the same way. So, yeah.
I've always felt like this is fascinating to me about Pandemic Legacy. Some people complain that it's not a good value because you only get 24 games out of it. I've never gotten to the end of a Pandemic Legacy campaign and felt like I didn't get my value out of that game. That might happen if I beat them all. Like if I just did 12 wins, but I don't think that's going to happen in Pandemic. Right. I lost 2 games already in this season. I lost one of them in 8 minutes. So
8 minutes?
Yeah, we lost the game in 8 minutes.
Wow.
We played quickly, so the game progresses more quickly with my group than a lot of others. But we had one game that just went very south very fast.
Wow. Now I've seen that in Pandemic. I've seen it go really south. Yeah.
Sometimes you're not even 2 rounds around the table, and all of a sudden everything's a mess.
Yeah, we had a couple. We had one game that went really bad where the outbreaks were just right next to each other, and they just multiplied, and all of a sudden, wow, game's over. So then you just fired it up and played again. So that is what it is, and that is Pandemic Season 0, Pandemic Legacy Season 0. It's out right now. You can get it. And Chris, you got me interested in it. I'm very curious about this one. BJ from More Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Chris, and he's publishing and he's doing his own games. And this is one from Board and Dice called Tawan. I always forget how to say it. Tawantinsuyu, and it's by David Turchi. Tawantinsuyu, the Inca Empire, and you've gotten a chance to play it. And I know I'm butchering it, so I'll let you say it the better way.
So I think I'm calling it Tawantinsuyu, but I've also, I don't think that's probably correct, and so I apologize for any disservice I do in the pronunciation.
We're only embarrassing each other when we say Tawantinsuyu if it's not the right way, right? So
there's all these games. I think the hobby has taken to calling them the T games.
The T games. Right.
Zulkin, Teotihuacan. I can't pronounce any of them. Teotihuacan.
That one I can do. Teotihuacan. So I can do that one.
Tawantinsuyu.
Yeah.
So this is the latest of the T games. 3 high-level impressions so far.
Okay.
I played one game, so this is all based on one play, whereas most everything else I'm saying tonight is not based on one play. First of all, this game is a beast to learn. I think this might be in the 10 or so most complex games I've ever learned.
Yeah, you're not a big, heavy gamer over and over, right? I mean, you'll dabble in those.
I do. I'm not afraid of heavy games,
Right.
but my groups prefer lighter games. But this one, I think this is about as heavy gets. I probably gave this a 5 on the BGG weight scale. The rulebook is not great. It's a little bit hard to learn the game from the rulebook. That said, they made up for it with an amazing player aid. But I do want to tell everybody up front, this is an extremely heavy game. And it was very fun to play, though. And I really enjoyed playing it. I think it's very deep. The core mechanic is you're placing little workers out on the map, and then you get actions based on where you place them, and actions based on how many workers they are adjacent to, which is a very cool mechanic. It has a good resource management aspect. It has a little bit of an engine building feel. It's a wonderful mashup of a lot of different mechanics with a pretty cool theme, but it is decidedly heavy. And it's so heavy that I don't think I would want to play this with more than a couple of people because it's AP inducing. And I also think that I think people should be careful about who they play games with. Like, some people don't like heavy games, and you shouldn't force them to play heavy games.
Right.
I would never, for instance, try to get my family to play this. Right. I think they would absolutely hate it. And I also, just as advice, I wouldn't get people to play it if they're skeptical of player aids. Like, this is a game that has an excellent, truly one of the best player aids I've ever seen, because the player aid is what got me through my play. But I found myself constantly looking at the player aid. I needed a little holder just so it was constantly in front of my face. Right.
Like dropping down off of your hat and you just kind of look at it.
But if people like heavy, crunchy games, this is probably one of the better heavy, crunchy games of 2020.
Yeah, I do like them. I'm like you. I dabble in heavy games, and I enjoy them when I play them, but I don't want to play them all the time. We have Steve and I have a common friend, Philip Millman, and he just loves playing all heavy games all the time. I like the mix of little trick-taking games and regular one-hour wonders, and then every once in a while you get this big feast like a Lisboa, and it melts your brain, and you enjoy that, right?
Yeah, I do. I enjoy it. I will say the thing on this game is I don't want to oversell it, but I was questioning whether I was smart enough to play it. And I actually sent an email, I think it was to the Opinionated Gamers, but I sent an email to somebody and I was like, I can't figure out how to play this game from the rulebook. And I think the rulebook is not great, but it's okay. And I think it might just be me and my IQ. And I just think this one is a bit complicated. It's
that kind of
than it needs to be.
That transitions into a question Verla has. How does it compare to Teotihuacan or Tekanu? Have you played all three of those?
I didn't think, I'm going to call it Teo. I didn't think Teo was that bad to learn.
Okay.
I thought Tekanu was a step up, but this was a step up from even Takenu. So I think this is the hardest to learn of the three.
Good. You need a good player aid. You know, if you played Lisboa by Vital Lacerda, that player aid is absolutely. I mean, I'm constantly flipping through the pages of the player aid. You know,
except for maybe, I would say this game is nothing mechanically like the game. This is, other than Twilight Imperium is probably the most complex game I own.
Okay.
It's probably as complex as Twilight Imperium.
It's way up there on the scale. It's getting close to 4 on the scale. So yeah. I forget what it was. It was like 3.7, 3.8, 3.9, something like that on the scale.
Yeah, but the problem with BGG users is that they have no perspective, right? You know, some BGG users, there's no such thing as a 5.
Chris, yeah, exactly. Chris, or a 10 on the popularity scale. Chris wants to know: do you have to feed your people in this game?
You do have to feed your people.
Of course you do. Yeah. That's going to make it even tougher. Is it a friendly feed your people, or is it a punishing feed your people?
Yeah. Potatoes or corn, no delicious gumbo. Very few games have gumbo, BJ.
Yeah, we need that. We need that. Yeah. We need a delicious gumbo. So you do have to feed your people in this one. Dean says Takanu has been his favorite of the 3 that he's played. I've only played Teo, so I can't really say that.
Yeah, this one's my favorite. My problem is I really enjoyed the game. I enjoyed playing it. The person I played with, we played a 2-player game. The person I played with also really enjoyed it. We simultaneously vowed 2 things, though. We vowed to play it again soon because we're going to totally forget how to play it.
Yep.
And we also vowed never to play with the rest of our game group, who I hope is not watching tonight, because it was AP-inducing with 2 of us. And if you had 3 or 4 players, I mean, you may have 15 minutes between turns.
Oh,
because
man.
That little mountain thing in the middle, you have to optimize where you place your meeple. But as you can see, there are a lot of little places to put the meeple. And because of that, each turn necessarily involves a lot of different options in weighing them. So you can't really play this game quickly.
Chris, all I'm seeing is a big smorgasbord of meeples on the board. I mean, they don't even seem to have any rhyme or reason on this. And I'll tell you, and I'm not dogging on the game at all because I haven't played it, but the attractiveness of Teo or even Tekanu with that big obelisk in the middle, to me, they look more attractive to me. If I'm looking at 3 games on the table, I'm going to steer toward Tekanu to play it because that obelisk just stands out to me.
Yeah, I think this doesn't look as fun as the other ones. I mean, just to sort of explain what's happening in this picture and what makes this game so complex, each different color of meeple has a different power, and each space you can play it on triggers other powers from the board. And you also have to pay a cost that varies based on where you place it relative to a meeple in the middle. And so, I mean, you have complex factor times, you know, administrative details, and that is. It's heavy.
Well, Jeremy Howard's checking in. What's up, Jeremy? And he says, hey, you really need a couple of plays to see everything this game has to offer. He really likes Tawantinsuyu.
I think that's right. I think this is one of those games where I'm probably going to want to play it 20 times just because I think there is that much to explore, which is why I'm so fascinated by it.
Yep, I'd like to try it. Patrick Newman, yes. Jason, I think, actually has some kind of gumbo thing. Maybe it's the ingredients for the Acadians. So that's the 3rd in the Cajun trilogy. Take a look for that. Look, Chris Wray is smiling when he's thinking about that. Have you ever played Captains of the Gulf for Crescent City?
No, it's on my list of things I really want to play.
All right. Captains of the Gulf. So, yeah, well, next time we get to convention, we'll need to play that together. I did back Crescent City Cargo. I haven't played it, so I do not know how that is. So that's Tawantinsuyu. To me, not as exciting looking as Takanu. I love Teotihuacan, so if it's got a feel of that, I'm interested. But sounds like you and Dean, y'all are disagreeing on Tawantinsuyu and Tekanu. So I'm just gonna have to try them for myself. All right, people. That is from David Turchi, Tawantinsuyu, and Board and Dice. I'm pretty sure. BJ from Game Gumbo. I've got my guests here. Chris Wray from the Opinionated Gamers, and we're talking Spicy Out Games. This is the last one we're going to talk about before we move to our big game, and that's the expansion for Tapestry, Plans and Ploys. Before I get to it, have you played Tapestry from Stonemaier Games?
I have not, but I have a question for you after you discuss this.
You want to ask now?
Everybody that I've ever heard of that played Tapestry a few times felt that the game was broken because it was I guess it's asymmetric, right?
It is.
And they felt like some were overpowered. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so originally there was a couple that stood out right away. and it was obvious that they were going to be points better, and the stats have proven it. Hey, kudos to Jamie from one standpoint. He's asking people to post the scores on his website, and then he's using those scores to see. Because look, you can play test a game hundreds of times. There's nothing like playing and testing simultaneously thousands of times across the world. That'll start to break a game.
Hang on. I shouldn't have to buy a $50 to $80 product to be a playtester.
How are you going to play test a game with that many powers?
When you buy a game from Hans im Glück or any reputable publisher, the game has been play tested thousands of times, and it's fixed when you buy it.
So El Grande is a Euro game down to the essence of area control. Tapestry is not that. Tapestry is what I call, and Jamie's going to get mad at me, it's track the track game. I mean, it really is all about going up these different tracks, and you're moving up these tracks with a little bit of conquest in the middle of the board. I mean, that's to me, that's the most fun part of the board, is the middle of the board. But it's very, very, you can win the game without ever really dabbling with the middle of the board at all. So when you have that and you have all of these asymmetrical powers, we all cheer when we talk about Root, and Root came out with 4 powers to start out with, 4 characters. This game's got 20. And then wait, we're throwing in another whole series of them. I think that's the difference. Do you want a game that's tightly designed, that only has 4 or 5, and then you watch as it creates expansions after expansions over the next 7, 8, 10 years? There's a lot of games out there like that. Power Grid and Concordia, 2 of our favorites, right? Or do you want a game that just throws a ton of stuff at you and then says, hey, we're gonna tweak this as we go? Chris, if you were a video gamer, you know that a lot of video gamers, that's exactly what they do. They put out the video game and they test it as much as they can, but they just don't know what happens after that.
Yeah, but just, the problem is Stegmaier has a history of this, right? I mean, the viticulture, I once hosted a viticulture tournament because I like the game so well. So I'm not like a Stonemaier hater. I hosted a tournament. And my problem was I couldn't get anybody in the tournament to agree on the rules because they all had different versions of the game. And I didn't this is my own fault. I didn't specify in advance. My problem with Stonemaier's games is they are often underdeveloped because Jamie outsources the development, which there is a place for that in the hobby. But I don't think it should be used as often as it is.
I know what you're saying, though. Like I tried to teach viticulture at Dice Tower Con last summer because I own Viticulture Essential Edition. I've literally played the game 26 times. I could teach the game in my sleep. And it was Tom had the original version of Viticulture. And when I opened up the box, Chris, I went, oh my God, I don't know how this game is played. There's been so many changes from the original edition to the Essential Edition that it was like looking at a different game. I get that. But
yeah, I think like Wingspan, like that game was pretty perfect actually out of the box. I mean, that game is remarkable. And
wait, what about Charterstone? Very, very few rules questions on BGG with Charter.
None, practically none.
I remember your social media post on that one, man. Like you were counting up all the threads. I thought that was a little unfair.
Stonemaier, I did that to everybody. I went through and for the people who aren't familiar with what I did, I went through and I added up the number of rules questions on each BGG for popular games, like all of the top 100. And I was like, these are the games where the rule books clearly sucked because if they were better, then people wouldn't have so many questions.
Right.
But there are such a thing as bad questions because Dixit had like 20 something threads about questions. And I don't like, if you can't learn Dixit, I don't
know that you can compare games like Azul to Tapestry and Charterstone because they're so open-ended in the game system itself that it's going to create ambiguities.
I correlated it with weight. I mean, there are some repeat offenders. Fantasy Flight has terrible rule books. So
yeah, so Jeremy says Wingspan was basically done when it came to him. I don't know if that's true or not, but that would explain why. I mean, Wingspan is a very tight game. It really is.
For the record, I think Stonemaier has done amazing things for the hobby. I think he's a very talented game designer. I love a lot of their games, but I really do get agitated with publishers when they release what I consider to be incomplete games. And I never tried Tapestry because of that.
All right. So we have to put this on the table. Seriously, Steve, sounds like you're saying Tapestry unravels a bit when you pull on the threads. All right. That's your one for tonight, man. That's a really good one. So let me just go over. I shouldn't have let you ask the question. I should have probably done the overview real quick. I love the question. I'll just go through real quick what we got in Tapestry. This is a game that if you didn't like Tapestry or you were not interested in Tapestry, fast forward about 5 minutes because you're not going to like Tapestry anymore based on this expansion. What it does is it adds a couple of things that probably should have come in the base game already. Jamie thinks of these things and we didn't know that we needed them. When you get the monuments in Tapestry, you take the monument out of the stack of monuments, but everybody forgets that they're already taken off the board. Hey, he gives you 12 tokens that you put on the board. And now when Chris grabs that token, everybody knows that monument's gone. That should have been included in the base game. It's one of those things nobody thought about, right? It comes with more Tapestry cards, and everybody wants that. More civilizations. Everybody wants these great new civilizations. I love these people, the treasure hunters. I mean, I got that Indiana Jones vibe right out of it, and that's me trying desperately to win. I got blown out in that game. But that's the treasure hunters. Each one of them does crazy things. They're going to be broken. We know that's going to happen. People are going to figure out loopholes and exploits on all these civs, and then he's going to have to adjust them as we go through. There's a difference between, like I said, going to St. Louis and getting 50 people to play test a game 500 times and asking, 20,000 people to play test with their friends over a 6-month period. You're talking thousands and thousands of plays. You get more landmarks, and everybody wants those big, landmark miniatures. Although, I'll be honest, I'd have been happy with tiles. I'm not that big of a fan of these big resin models. They kind of block everything that you're doing. And here's something cool, Chris. One of the complaints was, I don't know what I'm doing at the start of the game. When you're teaching that game for the first player, I like games that give you a card. Lisboa does this, where they give you the little A cards that kind of help you through your first couple of turns. That's what this does. He gives you a landmark and says, hey, you're going to get something cool if you try to earn this landmark. So maybe you get the TV station, or maybe you get the skyscraper, and now a new player is kind of on an even footing with the other players because they sort of know what to do. So that's a pretty cool addition. Yeah. And then of course you get a free copy of Feierabend in the no, you don't, but
Meyer has done that, and they did that with the Wingspan Quick Start expansion, and it's a very cool thing that more publishers should do.
Yeah. So as you can see, you're getting more cards, more monuments, some ways to streamline the game. It's a no-brainer for me. And you talk about value. It's not very expensive. If you like Tapestry, you should get Plans and Ploys because it's going to add a lot of value to your game. It's going to give you a whole new set of Tapestry cards to use and a whole new set of new civilizations. And let's face it, that's really why you want this expansion, because you want to get those new civilizations and see how bad you can beat Chris Wray with a broken civilization that you totally exploit. Not me, because I'll never figure out those exploits. But yeah, I do that. And you do get a free county in the game too. That's right, Beth. Good callback. So yeah, that's Plans and Ploys. I've enjoyed my plays with it, but I like Tapestry. I like the little track thing, and I like the civilization game. It's not one of the top Stonemaier games for me, but I think Tapestry gets should be a game that people like more than they say they like. So that's Tapestry.
It's so easy to balance those games too, because you could just do an auction at the front. Sorry, there's my love of auction games coming through.
You say that, and we just played a game called Alma Mater. I don't know if you like those Italian designers. Okay, yeah, Alma Mater. I liked Coimbra a lot better and Lorenzo, but I've only played Alma Mater once. But what I loved about Alma Mater, at the very start of the game, we did a quick little Seven Wonders draft with the starting cards. And then when you got your 4 cards, you had to get rid of one of them, keep the other 3, and the strength of the 3, the better cards you got a ton of resources to start the game, or maybe some special powers, but you also started last instead of first. And Bradley's looking at me going, we should do this every round. This is the heart of the game, picking your starting resources for that round. But the more you take, the further behind you're going to be in the track order. That was pretty cool. So I agree with you. Any game that has those auction things, like you got to admit that wake up mechanic in viticulture, which I think we had seen before in what was that German game that that had it, the wake up mechanic. But in viticulture, it has that bidding for how high you want to go first. I forget. There was another game in Germany that. What's that?
Fresco.
Fresco, yes, Fresco. The wake up mechanic in Fresco. So you got to admit that is a cool one. Look, there's Dean. He's backing me up. That mechanism from Alma Mater has become one of my favorites. I agree. The very start of the game. Now, for me, the rest of it kind of fell apart, but that's okay. I only played it once. I'm like you, Chris. I don't like to review a game just based on that first play. You know what I mean? It's going to take some time for a game like Alma Mater to really feel what the game is about.
Here's the thing about asymmetry in games, which I love. I absolutely love it. And I actually probably will play Tapestry at some point. I'm not the sort of person that really, this is probably saying way too much about my personality and me as a gamer. I'm not the sort of person that like cares if I win or lose a game. And usually the next day, I won't even remember who won or lost a game.
Right.
So I don't particularly care if a game is like finely tuned. That said, I get really annoyed with games like that because the people in my game group do care. And if it's asymmetric and they lose, then all of a sudden they complain for a week about, that was overpowered or underpowered. And I think that there are a lot of game groups like that. And so I do think that as a hobby, we have to aim towards these sort of finely tuned games. But
I think it's like Scout Troops, man. You can have games that are perfect information, perfectly balanced. I'm smarter than you and I'm going to beat you every time, right? And you can have games like Tapestry where you're looking for exploits and loopholes and maybe one, in Small World, let's face it, Small World, the races are not balanced. And especially not with certain combos. There are certain combos you really shouldn't play in Small World because they're totally broken. But Small World's rated one of the top, most people have it as one of their top 20, top 30 games.
Self-balances, right? That's or at least not the first round, I suppose. But
I think the difference in Small World is that your race is going to eventually die, but I can't think of the race right now. But I'm telling you, if you play Small World with my game group and that race and that combo comes out, if you don't get that one, no matter what the cost is, they're going to win. They are literally going to exploit that one all the way. And nobody says, oh, there's a game that's totally broken. No, it's a game that's beloved and everybody loves and everybody keeps putting out more expansion. So I sound like I'm defending it. I'm not. I'm saying that it's not one of Stonemeyer's best games. It's not. Yeah. It's not one of their best games. But is it fun?
Between Two Cities, that game's fantastic.
No, that's the bottom of the barrel for me, man.
No, really?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Oh, I love that game.
No, never liked it. Didn't like the new version of it. No, that's bottom of the barrel for me, man. Maybe it's not broken enough. Maybe it's been play tested too much. And I like those two guys, those designers. I every time they come out with a new game, I'm always excited, but their designs just leave me dry, and I cannot figure out why. No, Between Two Cities.
Jay said we gamers are so opinionated tonight. That's perfect.
That's it. We gamers are so opinionated. It is a tough one. Yeah, there's a lot of we've generated a lot of comments on this. And I don't think we're going to settle this argument. I think that Tapestry is for people that like the game. Plans and Ploys. If you don't like Tapestry, it's not going to improve the game to where you like it. So
to be fair, I'll probably play it at some point and absolutely love it. So it's just the way these things work.
We'll see. All right. This is a board game show, Chris. That means it's time for a board game. We should play a game together. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let me see if I can get all right. So I'm going to get Steve up here, and then Steve, I'm going to move you into the lobby, into the green room. What's up, Steve? Steve, say hey to Chris.
You're muted.
Oh, yeah, I had to mute because we were getting some feedback. Now go ahead, Steve.
It was good to see that you made it back from Tasmania. I know that was a long flight and you were kind of stuck there for a little while.
Yeah,
it was. I was in Tasmania for 2 or 3 weeks doing the Dice Men Comet. They all expense paid. They put me up in a hotel. Man, I was touring. You can ask Steve. I was touring the city. I went to the bars. I went to the churches.
Okay, this is him practicing lying to you, Chris. This is him practicing the lie.
Yeah, you got me there. I was like all excited about your trip to Tasmania.
No, I haven't been to Hobart, but if you haven't checked it out, Dice Men Comet, their latest episode 319. I'm on the episode and I had a great time talking to Garth and Leon. That it's an awesome podcast. Let's bring in our next one, all the way from. Well, I'm not sure where he is tonight. It might be Baton Rouge, might be Lafayette, might be Pittsburgh for all I know. Jay Bell, welcome to the show. Where you at, Jay?
Hey, How's it going, guys? I'm in Tasmania too, actually.
Oh, okay,
now.
good. Hey, let's grab a beer after the show. We'll go to Tasmania. And our last contestant, we can't trust her. We can only hope to contain her. And that's Verla.
Hey, guys.
Verla.
Hey, brother.
Welcome in, Verla.
Hey,
Get your
Jay.
name up there.
Hey.
All right, so Steve is down in the lobby, but we can hear him. He's that discombobulated voice in our headphones. Chat Krewe, you're in on this game. And Steve, tell us about the game.
Well, this is going to be board game Bataille, but to clarify it for you, for those of you who don't know Bataille, this is basically going to be 4 rounds of board game Survivor, essentially. I've got 4 different rounds where there's a theme in the round, and I've put together 6 games in each of them. I talked to BJ, Chris, Jay, and Verla beforehand and got their picks for each of these. And what they're going to do in each round is argue about which one should get booted off, and each of them is going to take a turn, throwing somebody off the island, tossing a game. And by the time we get to the very end, there will be 2 left. And the chat crew will do the final elimination. The chat crew will kick off the last game. There will be a winner in the round. And whoever one of the 4 of them has picked that game to get through will get either all of the points if they did it alone or split it with anybody that they share it with. It's going to be total points at the end of things, 6 points per round, and it's divided equally among everybody who won in that round. Total points wins.
Any questions about the rules?
You can play it straight. You can really argue for the one that you want to get through, or you can do what other people do and go underhanded and argue for something else and try to play the old switcheroo. But, we'll see.
Who would do that?
Jay says he's got a major strategy. So let's see your major strategy tonight, Jay. And Chris, we won't have to worry about. He's an opinionated gamer. So he's going to be throwing opinions out. All right. So everybody's, Spencer's going to have to miss you're going to miss board game Bataille, Spencer. All right. That's all right. Yes. And yes, Beth, the whole part of the show is that you get to murder. You're going to be the last murderer. All right. So board game Bataille, presented by our Bourrée game. That's right. You can learn to play Bourrée if you haven't. Laissez le bon temps Bourrée. Carlos Roy has designed a deck. And I won't even show you the picture, but there is a special ace of spades in there, Chris, if you want one. But it's got the instructions for Bourrée. It's a trick-taking game, and you love trick-taking games. It's a gambling game. It's such a big gambling game. The NBA almost had to ban it because people were pulling out guns on each other in the locker rooms. So it's an awesome game. You don't have to play it for $75,000 like Gilbert Arenas. You can play it for $5. All right? A lot smaller game down here in Lafayette. I don't know about you players over there and Chris over there in Missouri, but we can play a lot smaller, $5 game. All right, Steve, so take it away.
All right, your first category is social deduction games, and I gave you all a list of 6. Here's the 6: Werewords, The Resistance, Shadows over Camelot, Spyfall, Coup, and Deception Murder in Hong Kong. Now, each of you told me what your private pick was. But I'm going to let you all fight about what ones should go and what should stay, and then I'm going to call on you to eliminate them. So chat for a little while and fight it out.
Anybody has an opinions on the best one of those games? Anybody not played any of those games?
Social deduction is just not my jam, and I didn't think I'd played any of them, but I found back in my BG stats, I did play Werewords once. But out of all of those, I would be voting to keep Shadows over Camelot because the theme speaks to me. And I feel like, okay, if I have to play social deduction, I could get behind Knights of the Round Table. And it's Bruno Cathala, which, he's fantastic. So I think this one could be a winner for me.
This guy right here, Chris Wray, has probably played all 6 of them because he loves social deduction games.
Those are
Chris?
I love 5 of the 6.
5 of the 6. Okay.
Which is the one you don't like?
I don't like Spyfall.
Okay.
You all played it?
I've played it, and it was the least one that I liked also. But I didn't have a cheat sheet, and if you don't have that cheat sheet when you play Spyfall,
that's why I don't like it. Yeah, you hit it. You hit the nail on the head there.
Oh, did I? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Jay, you played Spyfall?
Yeah, and I agree with Chris there. I've played some of these, but there's one in particular that I think just really not only does well at social deduction, but it has a nice it's super thematic. So yeah.
Which one is that?
He might not be telling you.
Oh, might not want to say.
Tell us. Okay.
Yeah, Chris, if you haven't memorized the cheat sheet on Spyfall and you even take a glance at it during the game, you're busted. Unless you're doing it on purpose, and I'm just I'm so honest. I can't do things like that. You know, I'm looking at it because I really need to
You
look at it.
honest?
My complaint is they should have given a cheat sheet to everybody.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the way it should be. So my favorite of those, I don't think it'll be a surprise to anybody in the chat crew. It's going to be Deception Murder in Hong Kong. I've taught the game a million times. It's a favorite in our high school game club. It's thematic, right? I mean, it's super thematic. You really feel like you're trying to solve cases. And unlike Chris's favorite game, Werewolf and all of its denizens, there's a reason why you fuss at people. Because you're looking at the clues and you can say, oh, look at this. I mean, this is obviously the murderer because that werewolf, you just like pick somebody out of a hat. Oh, I don't like that person's nose. I'm just going to start calling them the mafia or the werewolf. Right, Chris?
Werewolf.
No, it's no strategy. You just literally pick somebody. Oh, no, here's the famous one. Oh, look at this person talking so much. They must be guilty. No, I always talk all the time.
But you are guilty, though.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
No defense for werewolf.
Talk here. Anybody going to talk down some of the other games?
So I gotta say, Verla, I don't agree with you on Shadows over Camelot. It doesn't speak to me. Like the theme is just one. I can't get behind it. I don't know why. I'm such a huge fan of like knights and medieval and everything, but mixing it with social deduction just is not my jam. Not at all.
Interesting. Well, I'm curious too, because I feel like almost every time we play the Envy game on here, that comes up if the guesses steer towards social deduction at all. So I keep hearing about it, even though it's older and it seems to be a classic. So the theme totally does it for me, probably more than anything else on the list, unless you guys can sell me on something else on the list. I mean, for someone that doesn't love social deduction, what do you guys think I'd like?
I love Shadows of Camelot. I don't know if Chris has ever played it, but I own everything for it except for the Company of Knights expansion, which has the painted figures. But I love the cards in the Merlin's Company expansion. I love the way it plays. I am terrible at the game. I maybe have won once. I'm absolutely trash at that game. Chris, what do you think of Shadows of Camelot?
I think it's an extremely fun game. The problem with social deduction games is not with like as a genre problem. The problem with long social deduction games is the real fun part is the reveal of who the traitor was, right? And in Shadows over Camelot, that's a long game for that one really fun moment. But I personally absolutely love Shadows over Camelot. I think it's beautiful. I find like the card play fascinating. I actually think I have never done it where I played without the traitor, but I probably could play without the traitor and still enjoy it.
Yeah, I was looking it up on BGG, and the pictures were calling to me, and yeah, I'm totally intrigued by it.
I played once when there was no traitor. I think that's familiar. When we all kept thinking the other person was a traitor. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to call time on y'all here and start to do some eliminating. I'm going to go through this. I just want to give a quick comment here. Beth, I did say werewords, but I think BJ was calling back to Chris being a huge werewolf fan. We deliberately left werewolf off on this one because I think that might have been a little bit too much down Chris's street.
Was that?
So we're going to do the elimination now. And again, I'm going to take you through in this order. Let's say for the first round, Chris will get the first elimination, then Jay, then BJ, then Verla. So Chris, which one of these games are you tossing off the island?
Coup.
Coup has to go. Coup is gone. Okay. Particular reason?
I don't think it's a social deduction game.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay. So Coup is in it. And also, since nobody said anything about it, either everyone was playing real cool and hoping it was going to slide through, or nobody likes it.
I was throwing it out myself.
I will say I do like Coup. I can see how it could be not seen as a social deduction game, but there's so much deception there that I think that's why they try to put it there.
Okay. So Coup is gone.
When you play Coup, you do hide your role, right? I mean, you're trying to fake other people into thinking you're a particular role, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, but I think but the social deduction, you have to deduce what somebody's role is, and I don't think you necessarily have to do that in Coup.
Or do you?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I'm shockingly bad at Coup, so this is probably on me.
All right. So Coup is gone. Jay, you're next in line. What's got to leave?
Come on, Jay, don't be cruel.
But so sadly, out of the 6 games that were there, like Shadows over Camelot just did not speak to me. Oh, that's the one I'm gonna axe.
Okay.
Oh man,
Shadows is
hurt
gone.
Jay.
We are now up to BJ. What are you going to axe, BJ?
How do you follow that? I mean, Verla's pretending to be brokenhearted about non-pick of Shadows
I'm
of Camelot.
crushed. I'm really crushed, Jay. I thought we were friends.
Are you crushed?
Maybe a little.
I am throwing out the Resistance. I'm tired of the Resistance.
Ooh.
I don't like the shouting. It's as close to Werewolf as I want to get to. And I just, if I never play the Resistance again, I'm fine. Although I do want to play Avalon because I've heard it's a better version. I've never played Avalon, but if I never play the Resistance again, I'll be a happy person.
Okay.
So I'm taking out the Resistance.
The Resistance is gone. That didn't get a whole lot of comment either. Grace, could you grab him?
Toby.
Okay. Toby.
Who's
Yeah,
that?
Toby is yelling at the people.
Oh, happy birthday, Toby. Happy adoption day, Toby.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. He's an old man today. So we are down to Verla, I believe. Verla is kicking out before the chat goes. What's left? Verla?
Okay. What do we have left? We've got Deception,
We
Murder in
have
Hong Kong,
Deception, Murder in Hong Kong,
Spyfall, and
Spyfall,
Werewords, right?
Werewords. Yep, you got it.
Okay. I am going to get rid of Spyfall.
Okay.
Doesn't call to me at all.
Spyfall is gone. So here's your call, Chat Krewe. Starting now, you have 2 games in front of you, and you have to pick which one you're going to kick off the island to declare a winner here. Tell me who you're going to eliminate: Werewords or Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. Starting now, and start putting those comments in the chat. I'm going to get them started on round 2, but we're watching for your comments. Okay, round 2 is Spiel winners. And we couldn't do, something with Chris here without going back to Spiel winners. The 6
Chris
that I
knows
picked
the-
are
Does he know
Dominion, Azul, King Domino, Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne, and Catan.
So Dominion, Azul, King Domino, Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne,
and Catan. And you can do the same thing again where you kind of free-form chat about what you hate, what you love. And then Jay's going to kick off the eliminations this time.
Any thoughts?
Sort of 6 amazing games.
You
Or
can't
5.
play them all. This is Board Game Bataille, Chris. Come on. So which one is your favorite one out of the 6?
Mine? Oh, Ticket to Ride.
Ticket to Ride? Okay.
I have
Ticket to Ride out of the 6.
Ride.
Yeah, Jay, you've never played Ticket to Ride, right?
Never played Ticket to Ride.
Yeah,
What?
not
You can
Yeah,
get
not
it
yet.
for $1.
Not yet. I only own like 5 versions of it, Jay. So I can teach you any one of the 5 versions.
Yeah.
So 6. I own 6 versions of Ticket to Ride. My pride and joy of my collection. And I'm not a big board game collector. I trade, sell, but the 10th anniversary edition of Ticket to Ride, that is something that will always stay in my collection.
Oh, I want that one.
I love that. I like bringing that thing out. Ticket to Ride out of the 6. Boy, I mean, these are tough. Ticket to Ride. That's
Tell you what
probably
the weakest one is. I'll
What's
be
that?
opinionated. I think the weakest one's King Domino.
Hmm.
I love King Domino. I absolutely adore King Domino, but I don't think people are going to be playing King Domino in 10 years, but I bet they're still playing the other ones.
I wonder if BGA, the ubiquitous of BGA and the fact that so many people play King Domino on BGA, and I mean it's so easy to teach. It's such an entry level game. I don't know. You might be right. It just seems like this whole list is out of the 6. I think Dominion's the one that people are not going to be playing in 10 years.
I agree with that.
Somewhere
Okay.
Daily cries.
Poor Dale. Right now, Dale's going, I'll never be on that show again. Never. No, I actually love Dominion. I just bought another expansion for it recently. I love it. But once they stop putting out expansions, or maybe they won't. But the evolution of the deck building genre is just, man, it's really good stuff.
You might be right too, because Dominion could use a facelift.
Yeah.
Definitely. Most definitely.
Well, it did get one with the board. It's called Clank.
I don't
Shay,
Or
try that yet.
Lost Ruins of Arnak, or what's the one that's coming out right now? Dune Imperium, right?
Yes.
Dune Imperium.
So
They're
why would we
doing-
need Dominion when those are all around?
So
Kelly says, Dominion's out of here.
I also think
Yeah, I agree with her.
I think Catan has a problem. I love Catan because I first played Catan in like 2004, and I have fond memories of Catan, but I think it's mostly nostalgia. Whenever I teach people who have joined the hobby within the past 10 years Catan, they're like, "Why are we playing this?"
It's
a little bit.
I get what you and Beth are saying, but at the game store this past Wednesday, not Jay when you and I were there, but the previous week, there were people there that I had never seen before. Their first time, they're ex-card, CCG game players, and you know what they wanted to play? They told the store owner, "Hey, do you have a copy of Catan? We'd like to learn it." They didn't recognize a single other game in the store, but they knew Catan. Mm-hmm. And there are people, and maybe it's just our little town, but there are people in Lafayette. That's still the go-to game that they play. The game store today, I don't know if you saw it, Jay, he's posting about how he got the new 25th anniversary, 15th anniversary,
25th, I think, since 1995.
Yeah,
the year it came out.
Oh, he's excited. He's posted, "We've got it. It's going to be limited, and you got to hurry up and come and get it." And people are going to buy that game. I think Catan still has legs.
So,
yeah, I think it does for a long time.
What do you think, Jay?
I don't know about Catan still having legs. I think you can only play so much of it. Once you've played it and once you've mastered it to an extent, it's an entry game. It's just to teach people the hobby, and there's so much more out there. I mean, if we're comparing that to Ticket to Ride, as I know a lot of people know, Ticket to Ride's the better game.
It is. And Chris, I am pronouncing it correct because I'm pronouncing it the way Bruno Catala pronounces it. I'm pronouncing it the correct way.
That cracked me up.
What's that?
He says Kingdomino?
Kingdomino.
He says both at the same time. I don't know how he does it. He's French. He says both ways at the exact same time, and he pulls it off, and I'm trying my best. Kingdomino. All right.
There is no love or hate so far for Azul or Carcassonne.
I'll speak up for both of those. They're both fantastic. I think they both have staying power. Look at Carcassonne, how long that one's been around, and continues to be an introductory gateway game that people play beyond just teaching their friends. Families are playing it over and over. And me, tile laying, and there's tiles on Azul as well.
Yeah, but
gorgeous. Go ahead.
Here's the quick question, though, Verla. Out of the 6, Chris, Jay, if you're playing just the base game, no expansions, no 10th anniversary editions, no special meeples, just the base game of those 6 games, Azul might rise closer to the top as just the base game.
I don't know. I don't think I'd like Azul as much when you introduced it to me without the crystal mosaic. That really did it for me.
Yeah, the boards and the overlay do a lot. I agree, but as the gameplay, Chris, if you're just playing base Dominion, Azul, Kingdomino, Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne, and Catan, which one are you playing?
Ticket to Ride still.
Still Ticket to Ride. My problem is that base Ticket to Ride would be without the 1910 expansion.
Right.
And I don't like it without the 1910 expansion.
Man, I'd be playing Carcassonne still.
Interesting.
It might be between Azul and Carcassonne for me out of those 6. Well, if I'm playing just the base game.
Chris, you look like you were going to say something. Go ahead.
So I'm going to hate on Azul a little bit. I love Azul.
This is Michael Kiesling you're talking about. All right, I'm listening.
After about 3 dozen plays, I got really tired of that game, and if I never play Azul again, I'll be just fine.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I almost got to that point. Like, I will still play it happily, but we did kind of wear it out in my household for a while, and was really glad when the next few versions came out. And I'd probably rather stick with the Summer Pavilion version long term if I had to downsize from all 3 of them.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
To go what Jake said, I don't think I'll ever play again with the crystal mosaic.
Yeah. Good point. All right, so we've decided.
Call you on this one, but I got to give you the update from round 1. The update from round 1 was that Wereword's got the axe. So BJ solo takes all 6 points of the round with deception. So that might also affect how you vote to eliminate things in round 2. BJ's the runaway leader at this point. Time to pile up. All right.
Or work with me, people.
Yeah. I work for Verla. This is
shared victory, right?
Yeah.
Shared victory.
no. You know that the rule is if there's a tie at the end, BJ loses. That's
Yeah,
the
I do.
This is true.
So what we've got now is we've got those 6 games, and the elimination order is going to be Jay, BJ, Verla, then Chris. So Jay,
All right, Jay, what you got?
you're going to kick off the island.
So here's where the strategy comes in.
Mhm.
Here's the plot twist. I'm gonna eliminate Carcassonne.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Why are you hating on me tonight, Jay?
Okay. See, I love Carcassonne. As you guys know, I bought the big box and I
You're
don't
the carp
regret.
shark or something, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
good. He's good at Carcassonne.
I can pick it tonight because I knew that would just it'd be too straightforward. So yeah, I'm gonna eliminate.
Wow, he's zigging. All right, who's
Going
next?
going right for the throat right off the bat. All right, so Jay goes, then now BJ up to eliminate.
Well, man, he stole my pick. I was going to pick Carcassonne.
Man.
Out of those 6, I'm gonna eliminate. I'm gonna eliminate Dominion. Yeah, Dominion's gone.
Okay. Dominion is gone.
Well,
Wow. I did not see this breaking this way. Verla, what are you going to toss?
I was going to give Dominion the axe as well, so now I have a hard decision to make. Gotta leave King Domino in there, though. The art is fantastic. If you ever look up close at all the little details, the shadows of the dragons flying overhand and everything, it's just so great. I'm going to get rid of Catan.
So King Domino stays in.
King Domino stays in.
Gone.
Catan, bye-bye.
Okay.
So Chris gets the last elimination before the crew. Azul, King Domino, and Ticket to Ride. What are you going to eliminate, Chris?
We know
Azul.
which one. Yeah, we knew he was going with that one.
All right, so Chat Krewe, you've got 2 left. Pick which one you're going to eliminate, King Domino or Ticket to Ride. Starting now, I'm going to start looking at the comments right now here. King Domino or Ticket to Ride, which one gets the axe? All right. And then I'll move you all on to the next round here while they're doing their voting. The next round, as I hinted to before, is going to come back. The good doctor's back. We're with a round of Knizia here. I got 6 Reiner Knizia games for you, and they are My City, Ra, Modern Art, Tigris and Euphrates, Lost Cities, and The Quest for El Dorado. Do your mix it up, Battle Royal style, but BJ gets the first elimination this time, so chat it up.
Well, for me, I'm leaning toward My City, although Chris Wray is going to hate on me for that one, only because I haven't played it. So I haven't played the first 2. I haven't played My City or Ra. I did not like Quest for El Dorado. The 3 in the middle, though, Modern Art, Tigris and Euphrates, and Lost Cities, all fantastic games. Everybody knows on the show that I want to make a copy of Modern Art, but the stamps version with personal stamps. I want to do that someday. Quest for El Dorado week. Somebody's going to have to sell me on why My City or Ra or Quest for El Dorado shouldn't get booted.
I agree with you. Those are the 3 worst on that list.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. I thought you liked My City.
I like all 6 of them, but those are the 3 worst.
Okay.
I really like Quest for El Dorado. I don't know what it is. I think of the 6, I haven't played actually any of these. I'll let you know.
Okay.
I haven't played any of these. No, I have played Tigris and Euphrates.
Lost Cities is on Board Game Arena.
It sure is.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay. So when I looked at all these, I was really interested in Lost Cities as well. So Lost Cities actually seems like a really, really fun game. But more than that, Quest for El Dorado just seemed really like fun and thematic, where you're like going through these different parts of the jungle and the village and the river. I don't know. It really just spoke to me. It has hexes, which are awesome.
I think Quest for El Dorado is the reason why Dominion still hasn't died. Why Dominion still has a place.
Wow.
Quest for El Dorado
Wow.
it's just garbage.
No,
It's
disagree.
garbage.
Flat out disagree. I'm with Jay. I mean, look, well, other shoulder there. There's behind my shoulder my Quest for El Dorado. And I would pick that out of all of them, not just because it's the only one I played, but the other ones, and looking them up, none of them speak to me at all. But El Dorado, you've got deck building. And like Jay was saying, it's so thematic, going through the jungle, searching after things, and just the race aspect of it When we first learned that game, my siblings and I stayed up till about 3 a.m. We played it 10 times in a row. We just kept switching up the maps and making our own thing, and never got sick of it at all. We've had some friends that put together 2 sets of it and made a giant one, and it's just a blast. So much fun.
I did have a rules question about Quest for El Dorado, so maybe you and Chris could help me out, though. When you're playing Quest for El Dorado, don't you ask yourself, why am I not playing Clank?
No, because I haven't played Clank, and that hasn't.
And I looked through the rule book, and I couldn't find the answer, Chris. It looked everywhere.
It's in the expansion, BJ. They'll fix it in the expansion. It's in the rule book for the next version.
So,
What did you say, Chris?
I think both of those are worse than Dominion.
And going back to Tigris and Euphrates, I'm probably the only one here, but Babylonia kills Tigris and Euphrates. There's just no reason to own Tigris and Euphrates if you own a copy of Babylonia.
Tigris and Euphrates can be a bit boring, but it has that extremely cool scoring system. Like, it's just an extremely cool scoring system. I wish more games used it.
The conflict part, though, it's just Babylonia strips that out.
Very wacky.
Yeah.
I will say so I will slightly defend modern art here. If I were to have like a fire or some tragedy in my house and I were like fleeing through this basement, I would stop in my game room, and if I could only grab one game, it would be a copy I have of modern art. It's not my game, but it's just like I feel like it's the game that I'm like the most sentimentally attached to. So that's the one I would grab.
Which version of modern art do you have that? It's obviously the CMON version, right?
I have this is an obsession, so I'm warning to the group. I have like 7 or 8 versions of modern art, and my favorite one is the Oink version, which is about yay big. And Dr. Kanitia, I saw him at Essen, and he signed it to me, which is why I would grab that one.
So that's the one you would
Fair
grab.
enough.
Yeah, and Brandon Kemp also has a signed copy because I had bought his copy that day too, and I'm like, can you also sign this one? So
I'm gonna ask that one when it's my turn.
Yeah, you shouldn't have said all that, Chris, because that thing is a goner, man.
No, I literally had to evacuate for fires in September, and I grabbed my signed Castles of Burgundy because favorite game, and it was signed. So yeah. I get the modern art, grabbing that one for sure.
I only have one signed game, and it's Empires of the North, and I like Ignacy okay, but I mean, I don't think I would not run in a burning building to save Empires of the North, even though I love that game. Dean, I'm not dogging on it. I love Empires of the North, absolutely love it, but nope, not going in the building to save that.
I'm trying
one.
to think if there's anything.
Steve, you got an update for us?
The update is that King Domino is gone, which means that BJ got another 2 points. Actually, no, I'm sorry, it's going to be 3 points because he's splitting it with Chris only. Chris and BJ both get 3. So BJ keeps his lead, but Chris is keeping pace.
I figured at worst I had a compadre, and you were going to keep Ticket to Ride to the end. So I jumped on the Ticket to Ride train. All right, time to vote. Let's go, round 3.
So if we're going to vote, this is going to be in this round. BJ kicks it off. What are you gonna eliminate?
Well, I know what Jay's going to eliminate, so I don't have to use my vote on that one. At least I hope, Jay. We have a deal, right? You are going to eliminate it. I don't think Chris is telling the truth, and I'm getting rid of my city just in case. I think Chris is trying to play us. I'm getting rid of my city.
Interesting.
Getting rid of my city. Interesting. Okay.
No, you know what? I'm going to change that. I'm going to change it. It's not my city. I'm getting rid of Tigris and Euphrates because I just don't think I think Babylonia replaces it. I really do. Tigris and Euphrates, you're fired. You're out.
Okay.
Go.
So BJ has gotten rid of Tigris and Euphrates. Verla, you are up.
I'm going to get rid of Ra.
It is gone.
Ra. Bye-bye.
All right.
Chris
Not
got a poker
a whole lot of
face.
discussion about that one. That was interesting.
It really wasn't.
BJ and Verla are
Chris
done.
Stratton had to check out, so we'll see you later, Chris, and good luck. Again, it's funded already, so asking for troubles. Check that out. All right, Jay, what you got?
Chris is up.
Oh,
Chris.
I will eliminate my city.
Interesting. And Jay, with modern art, lost cities, and quest for El Dorado left.
I like going last. This is fun.
Okay.
You're gonna break some hearts, Jay.
I think I'm gonna have to eliminate Lost Cities.
Lost Cities is gone. So
By the way, I have a copy. So next time you come by, we'll have to see. It takes 20 minutes to play the game. So super easy.
Yeah.
Super.
So the chat crew has to make the final elimination. Pick the one you're going to kick out, and your choices are between modern art and the quest for El Dorado. What are you going to eliminate?
Modern art's not very modern. I mean, it came out in '92, I think I saw on BGG.
There's so many versions of it, though. I mean, every year it seems to get repackaged, repurposed into a different edition.
Yeah, but they can't ask for
they
the old
still
ones
haven't
back and
managed to
rename them
improve it.
old art.
Yeah.
So chat crew, you're voting between modern art and quest for El Dorado starting now. I'm gonna be paying attention to that. We'll move on to the last round, which is the Kenner Spiel winners. And
I
for
would have voted
these-
it out, Beth, if it was my county. All right.
Beth, Quest for El Dorado has a lot of counties. Every single hex is its own
Every single
county.
hex is a county. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Mhm.
All right. So for your fourth and final round, you've got Kenner Spiel winners, and the choices for this are these 6: The Crew, Istanbul, Wingspan, Quacks of Quedlinburg, Seven Wonders, and Exit the Game. So
This is going to be easy for me, Chris. I've out of those 6, there's only one that I haven't played, and that's Istanbul. It came out in 2014. It should not have beat Concordia. Concordia should have won the Kinderspiel that year. And I played Istanbul, the dice game, and I don't see any reason to play Istanbul because the dice game is a blast. It's easy to set up and easy to play. And I've been told, by people I trust, that Istanbul, without a certain expansion, is broken. That it's just not. It can be exploited if you don't have the expansion. So maybe you can help me out with that.
So I love Istanbul. I actually think I like it better than Concordia.
Not okay.
to quote Mick, shots fired.
Yeah.
I don't think
It's
it's
a
the
tough
best.
crowd to come bringing in some Concordia heat. What's that?
If it's broken, I don't know that, but it's an easy game to find and play because it does have not just a really good app. The only game on this list that I really disdain is Exit the Game, which is completely misnamed because it's not a game. And I used to think I liked these sorts of things, but I played several of them, and it turns out no, I just don't like them. So,
So you don't like? Are you saying you don't like exit type games like Unlock or any of the other games, or are you just saying that series?
It was agitating. Like I don't know what it is about my personality, but like every time I start one, I'm like, it's like there's this promise that I'm going to have a good time, and then at the end of them, I'm always just annoyed, and and I'm actually like a hard person to annoy, and like I'm just like, when is this going to be over? Like there needs to be a timer to stop me, and so yeah.
Wow. So I disagree with you. We're big fans of those escape room type games in the Gumbo. We got 3 new to review in today, so we're gonna try that. Steve and I played Deckscape till midnight. Remember that we did that virtually with Luke or no Kevin? Yeah, it was with Kevin.
Kevin and Eric, I think.
And Eric, that's right, and Eric Batson. So I do like him. Jay, have you ever played any of these escape room type games?
Yeah, I've done a few of them, and I can't tell you which because I mean they got in my mind,
They all just run together.
and then they're better in person. It's just
Yeah, that's right. So are we all throwing out Exit the Game, Verla,
Wow.
or do you have a different choice?
I'd say bye-bye. Exit
Wow.
can make an exit.
yeah. We can go ahead and toss out Seven Wonders with it. I don't.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
no.
If it was Seven Wonders Duel, I mean, that would be staying for sure. But Seven Wonders, meh.
Chris, what is going on? Over the last 10 years, it seems like Seven Wonders has taken a lot of hits. It's taken a lot of hits, and I still love the game. Seven Wonders with Armada is my preferred method. I love it. I think it's still relevant. I think it's still fresh.
But
Chris?
out of all those games,
I think Seven Wonders is my most played game of all time.
wow.
And can I tell you just a really funny story, just 30-second story? When it first launched on Board Game Arena in the middle of the night, and I'm obsessed with Seven Wonders, and I played hundreds of games of it back in grad school. And I was online when it launched, and I played like 4 or 5 games in a row, and I won them. So I was briefly the #1 ranked player on Board Game Arena. But here's the thing, that only happened because nobody else had played it. And I went on a weird winning streak. I'm actually not a good Seven Wonders fan. And so I
That's
actually
funny.
briefly held this like number one title, and now like every time I play it online and I lose, I'm like, you were once great. And
You were once great.
Own that. Were you the first like best player? Because you should just.
I was. Yeah, I literally was. Yeah.
That's
Screenshot
awesome.
that.
Yeah, for
Screenshot
sure.
I sent Brandon an email at like 3 a.m, and he like mocks me about the email.
You need to
Hey,
fill it.
what's-
You need
what's
to
your
Philip
favorite
Millman
combo?
the heck out of that.
Yep,
Yes,
that's
you need a
right. Little
trophy.
What's your favorite combo? How do you play Seven Wonders? What's your favorite way?
Base game.
Really?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I love Armada. I think Armada is the best expansion, at least out of the ones I've played. I haven't played Babel. I have not played that one.
Okay.
That's the one that doesn't seem to be getting a reprint with the new version.
It did not. It was not announced. Yeah.
True.
It's most people have it the lower ranked one, but
So you've talked about
I-
Istanbul, Seven Wonders, and Exit. No discussion of the Crew, Wingspan, and Quacks?
Oh,
they're
we
perfect
need-
games.
They're great.
Yeah.
They're just
I was so annoyed when the Crew won the Kenner Spiel. And I was so annoyed, which is such a weird statement because I'm a big fan of the Spiel Digital and I'm a big fan of trick-taking games. I think it should have won the Spiel Digital. But I love the Crew, and I'm so happy that it's like so revered in the hobby right now.
Are you excited about the underwater version?
But I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah, they
You're
announced-
telling me something.
Oh, really? Yeah. So, anybody who doesn't know, in Chat Krewe, they announced yesterday the Crew. I can't pronounce the German version, but it translates to deep underwater. And you're underwater explorers, and there's 50 new missions to explore underwater.
Nice.
Yep. And designed by Thomas Singh.
Really smart. I think Seven Wonders is. I think she's right that it has been replaced by other drafting games. Like
Okay.
people really love like Sushi Go and stuff.
Sushi Go, Paper Tales. I don't know if you've played that. It feels like Seven Wonders, but with different ways of attacking. So I don't know. This is a tough list. Trying to pick out of these 6, Verla.
Yeah.
man, it's gonna have to be Wingspan or Quacks all the way. It's got to be Wingspan because Beth is in the chat room right now, and we can't eliminate that. That would just be wrong.
She makes a good
Ooh.
point.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Quacks. If I can just sort of show my disdain of Quacks, I would like that. But here's the problem with that game. That game has way too much luck for gamers to like it. They do, and I don't understand it. Like, if you just showed me
Right.
Quacks on the island, I would be like, there's no way gamers will like this. They hate luck in games. But, like, everybody
Right.
loves the game, and it is pretty luck-driven.
That always surprises me too, but I think that is just one of the reasons to love it and why it has staying power, because it's managed to get beyond all those expectations for gamers and how they would feel about it. It's so fun. It's so colorful. It brings people into the hobby for sure. It's push your luck. There's so many good things going on for Quacks. And then you get
So-
the BGG Geek Up bits, and it's just
They're
delightful.
perfect. They are
They're
perfect.
fantastic.
so here's the thing that I feel about Quacks. Quacks is a great game, but what's even better than like playing the game of Quacks is just the enjoyment and like the ridiculousness of playing Quacks, because everything is so thematic and it's such just a fun experience. Like the experience of playing it is better than actually playing the game.
My favorite part of Quacks is when 3 players are done and the 4th player is close to busting. It's one of the most pure joy moments of any game I play. Everybody's cheering that person to bust. You know, I mean, everybody is. But the problem with Quacks is that only comes for about a minute, during each one of the rounds, right? There's a lot of other stuff to the game. But I think that's the appeal of it. Also, people say they hate luck in games, yet Stone Age, Quacks, Celestia, all these games that people talk about and people pop up, there's a lot of luck in those games. There's tons of luck. So I don't think we like perfect information games as much as we say. I think that's what it is.
What I will say though,
Go ahead.
but before we vote, I think it's kind of unanimous that we have to pick Wingspan. Otherwise, Beth is gonna want to shin kick us all in a shin fight, as she mentioned earlier. So
All over the county, she'll kick you.
Yeah, she's gonna kick us
All right.
All
So I
right.
think we're ready to roll with some eliminations. And this time, Verla gets to kick it off. Verla, then Chris, then Jay, then BJ. Verla, what are you going to eliminate?
We did do the round 3 announcement already.
Oh,
Oh,
did
no,
we?
we did not.
Okay, go back to that first.
For El Dorado. So that means that we have BJ with 9, Verla, Jay, and Chris with 6. The only way somebody catches BJ is if they're a sole winner in round 4. So that might introduce some strategery.
Interesting.
We only have to tie BJ though.
That's true. You only have to tie him because then you win. Already explained. So Verla, I think you get to kick it off. What are you going to eliminate? Or what do you or in other words, what do you think BJ picked?
What do I think BJ picked? That's a great question. I'm going to eliminate 7 Wonders.
Interesting. Not the right choice, but interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, in the 3rd round, I had to change my answer because I actually picked my own game.
You did. You picked the game you picked to eliminate.
I sold myself on my city and forgetting that I picked my city to go all the way to the end. I was like, wait, I got to change that. Oh my God.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that happening. All right. So Verla has eliminated 7 Wonders. Chris, what are you going to eliminate?
Oh, we
Crew.
know what you're eliminating. The Crew,
Eliminating
what?
The Crew.
Oh,
Wow.
I thought you were going with
Okay.
Exit.
Yeah.
Almost. That's
Interesting.
somebody else.
Okay.
Okay,
splitting hairs.
Jay.
I'm gonna go with Istanbul.
Istanbul.
Yeah. Stole mine.
That was the
Stole
one
mine.
that BJ
Alas.
is got Concordia.
So what's left?
You've got Wingspan, Quacks of Quedlinburg, and Exit the Game left.
Do I want to win or do I want to piss off Beth Sobel? I want to win, so I'm gonna kick Wingspan out, even though I love the game and I own everything for it.
Wow.
This is a terrible
And
game.
is
Wow.
gone. All right.
This is a
So
horrible
the
game.
chat
Why am
has
I
to
throwing
pick. Chat Crew has to pick between Quacks of Quedlinburg and Exit the Game. What are you going to axe? What are you going to eliminate? What's the one that doesn't get to stay? So start your comments now.
I can't believe I
Exit should make an exit. I can't believe you did that either, BJ. That was hard.
That's my wife's favorite game. She loves Wingspan. She'll
All right,
play it.
remember, you're
anytime.
picking one to eliminate. And I can give you the updates perhaps while these come in if you want to do the rap and chat, BJ.
This is an evil, evil, evil game. Yeah, yep. All right, so
Exit left the game. Love it, Evan.
there's a lot of exit people that are they're axing the X.
Looks like
I
it.
like it. I like
Looks like it. I think that is the call. So if that's the call,
We're calling it.
is gone. Quacks takes it, which means that in the last round, BJ and Verla both get more points. BJ with 12. Verla takes sole possession of second place with 6, and Jay and Chris are at the back of the pack. BJ with a surprisingly non-Saints-like dominant win from start to finish.
Yeah.
Wow.
I tried to give it away in the 3rd round.
You did.
You did. Eliminating my own game. Attempting to. And so that is Board Game Bataille. BJ, I won for the first game and many, many times. I don't normally win these games. Verla came out second. Chris and Jay also played. So thank y'all for playing. Thank y'all for playing Board Game Bataille. Don't forget that's brought to you by our Gumbo merchandise. Check out the Game Crafter link that we have in the show to get a copy of your own Board Game Gumbo Blu-ray deck with graphic design by Carlos Roy and instructions to the game. It's only $15. So check that out. Carlos did an awesome job, and the Ace of Spades has a surprise if you take a look at it. Or you can burn the Ace of Spades. I don't care. And replace it with your own deck. That's it. All right, so Verla and Jay, thank you guys for playing. I think we learned a little bit more about both of you, about some of the games. And Jay, we got a list of games for you to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
All right.
sure.
I'm going to send you guys back down to the lobby and close it out with Chris.
Bye, friend.
All right, Chris, that was Board Game Bataille. Better game than Jambalaya, I think, right? I think you enjoyed that more than our Jambalaya game.
Our games are always delightful, and they're a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Thank you for being a good sport with this game. We have fun.
Certainly
with that.
more fun.
Yes. Way more fun than Exit for you. That's right. That shocks me. I would have thought you liked those Exit style games.
It's one of those things, in theory, I do, but
They just let me down. The unlock games have been that way for me. I always find the unlock games less fun than I think they're going to be. You know what else too? The adventure games from Cosmos. Steve and I both like them, but we don't love them. Now, I only played one, The Dungeon, and the premise of the game was so much more exciting than the actual game. But I think the system is there, so I would like to keep exploring it. I didn't not like it. I enjoyed it. I want a little bit more out of it. All right, board gamers, that's it for another episode of Gumbo Live. Hey, Chris, if people have some questions about the Opinionated Gamers or about some of these opinions that you have, how can they reach you? What's the best way to find you?
Tell me ChristopherRay@gmail.com, or you can find what I write on the Opinionated Gamers or my Board Game Geek blog, which is called The Cardboard Critic. Yes, I do own the email address. Christopher Ray, director, did not get it. I did. So
yes, that's exactly right.
His name is also Christopher Ray.
That's right. And if anybody hasn't read it, go back and check your history of it's the Spiel winners, not the Kinderspiel. It's the Spiel winners that you did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an excellent series on BGG. If you haven't checked it out and you like history, Chris is the ludohistorian of BGG, or one of them.
Yeah, one of them.
Ludohistorian, yep. Make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo. Also our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoardGameGumbo. It's where we repost a lot of these videos, and it helps us get the word out about all of our upcoming shows, including we're off next week because of Thanksgiving, but the following week, we're going to have Dan Patrice of the Geek All Stars, who's going to be coming in, and we will probably be playing the Heartthrob game with him. So check that out. Dan Patrice of the Geek All Stars will be coming in. I am BJ from Board Game Gumbo, and until next time, Chris, laissez le bon temps rouler.